in the outer nostril. She has a nose piercing. And of course, radiation attracts to metal. And the radiation was on that nose ring, and that's the nose she tested positive for. If you're that concerned about COVID and you do have a wholesale, put on a radiation suit and go to school. There was a guy after the end of yesterday's show who said it's not radiation, it's not 5G, it's not this, it's not that. But nobody has yet to get a Geiger counter and put it out there on your front porch and get a reading. No, we're not going to do that. Why not? You said it's not radiation, so nothing should happen. The arrow shouldn't even move because there's no radiation in the atmosphere. No, we're not going to do that. Okay, then shut up. When you have a metal detector, the metal detector doesn't beep unless it's around metal. So if you tell me it's not metal, it's wood, then it shouldn't be. But if I rub the wood and it says beep, then it wasn't wood, it was metal. Because it's called a metal detector. So I didn't pay him no mind. I told him he can come on the show and talk about it. He didn't want to talk about it. Next one. This one is from Baltimore. Good. It says, Dear Dr. Q, have you ever resolved the issue about whether or not to beat the kids? I know that you said you were for it, and the other two co-hosts said they were against it. My husband and I are also split on the decision. He says it's old-fashioned child abuse. So what is your final answer? Well, we already know Green believes in the talking.
2, 1. Yes, you can beat your kids, but don't go full blown. Yeah, I only said that, but as America changes, they always thought a certain type of way. I didn't say like.
I guess it's the word beat makes it sound like you're taking your fist and punching somebody. That's not what you're doing. You take your fly swatter. If you want to take a fly swatter, squat that hand one time. Stop. Don't do it. Put that back. Grandparents used to take a spoon when you try to reach for a biscuit during prayer. That's not abuse. That's chastisement. And that's what we mean. Chastise. We don't mean get up in a ring, put your boxing gloves on and your helmet on, ding, 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 and you just beat my ass. No. We mean chastise. Now, when it comes to, I know I got in trouble when I said about the wife beating. When it comes to beating your wife, at the time, the husbands were pretty much marrying children, like Happy Days. If the teenagers wanted to get married, they would marry somebody like Fonzie. Because Fonzie, even though he was a grown man, Fonzie was actually totally playing a 22-year-old guy. And the rest of the people were teenagers still in high school. When you know Fonzie was actually close to 30 or 28. And all he could say was, hey. But anyway, you would see shows like The Honeymooners, to the moon, Alice. And he raised his hand like he's going to strike her. And that was supposed to be funny because they would always laugh. It wasn't funny. It was a bad tactic to corrupting your wife. If the wife was I don't want to say minor, but they were under 18. And the only time that you could marry under 18 and not be a pedophile is if they were emancipated, auto-emancipated, or you had a letter of consent. What is auto-emancipated? Okay. If you're 13, 14, 15 years old, and you are pregnant, you are auto-emancipated. You are no longer considered a child. You are now an adult because you're now someone's mother or mother-to-be. So the law changes in your case and your circumstance. However, if that's the case of the mother, the father, if he's of age, is going to jail. Now, if you're 13 and he's 16, which that has happened as well, they will still try to lock the father up because you're under 16. Well, for this state of Maryland, under 16, you don't have the legal right to consent. So they'll lock you up. Now we have this law called, what's the word? It's some type of a rape, but it's not that kind of rape. Statutory. Thank you. Dre. Statutory rape. And that is based on a statute because of her not being 16. So therefore, if you can't consent to marry or you cannot be eligible to marriage, you're not supposed to be out there having sex. So it's a gray area there. And now with the gay people, it's still an issue because men can't get pregnant and women can't self-impregnate. So when they're having sex at 13 or 14, I think it's just still apply statutory rape. You don't have the 13-year-old going rubbing coochie against another coochie. You're too grown. No, lack of supervision does this. But I ain't going to talk your head off. Let's go to the last one. Then we can go to break. Stop laughing at me. Oh, boy. Well, but to answer your question, we all agree it's okay to chastise the child. Last, and thank you for mailing these in. I like to get the letters. It means it took time for you to sit down and write it. Dear Dr. Q, with the world changing on a daily basis, do you feel that people who are, what's that word? Confused and considered to be non-binary is the same as homosexual. To give you a better example, a non-binary person does not believe in the concept of gender. Well, if they don't believe in the concept of gender, I don't know. I don't want to sound rude to the LGBT community or anything like that. A lot of towns, like when homosexuality first presented, people said it was a sign of mental illness. Now, because people have followed through with it, they've been watched long enough to see that people can function and have a normal life. They keep it to themselves, like Rock Hudson and the rest of them. They said, okay, fine. They're not jumping out the closet like roaches when you turn the light on. So, fine, we'll consider it a sexual decision or alternative. That's why it's called alternative lifestyle, because it's a choice. If it was mandatory, they just would call it a mandatory thing. That's what the word alternative means. So anyway, like an alternative school, it's a choice, another way of doing something. So if you get to the point where you say, well, I'm not a boy, I'm not a girl, I'm non-binary, yeah, I think that needs a conversation. How do you self-identify your gender? You have a vagina. That's why they call genitals. The word genitals, G-E-N, comes out of the word gender, genitals. Now, if you have no genitals down there, it's bald like those He-Man action figures back in the day, you can be non-binary. That means you pee out your mouth or something, but there's no genitals for you. It's just bald, like a bowling ball. Then I would agree, yeah, you're non-binary, you don't have any genitals. But if you have a penis, you're a male. If you have a vagina, you're a female. Now, how you function with that, that's your business. This is just as bad as the question where it asked me, would I perform a same-sex marriage? And I said, no, I cannot. There is no way. Now, for ministers that go out there and do it, they go get ordained or licensed, or I don't know who's ordaining them, and they go out there and do it and give the vows, fine. Good for you. You ordained yourself. But I was called by God, and I can't do something that is not allowed to me. The purpose of marriage is before procreation, and it joins two people together. My suggestion is to go to the courthouse because the courthouse can do it. It's not religious. You go to the ministers because it is religious. Even the sheriff can do it. Any justice of the peace, law officer, commissioner, they all can do it. It's just a matter of officiating. So you can officiate, just like a funeral, you can just go ahead and do it. But to stand up there, you're not even a member of the church, and say, okay, I want the pastor to do this, no, that would be hypocritical. And then sometimes the membership will say, no, we don't want that happening here. Membership speaks. 25 people or 35 people, however many people, versus one, the large number prevails. Can't sit there and say, well, we're going to do it anyway. No, they don't do that. So we'll take a quick break. We'll be back in the hot seat with Jeff Rocker. Keep it locked where you got it. We'll be right back. And 2 and 2, don't go away. For probably like 30 seconds. Thanks for listening.
I can't believe it. Like we playing 4-on-4 with a barbershop quartet.
Pass the ball, pass the rock. We're open, just pass the ball.
Nah, I can't believe how easy it was to save hundreds of dollars on my car insurance with Geico. Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Baltimore Talking Live with your host, Dr. Q. Co-host is me, Aaron Green. And our guest today is a celebrity therapist. Also, he's a co-founder of How We See It. He's a TV personality, and also he's featured on NBC, HBO, and BET, and Black Enterprise. He'll tell us more about this and everything else. Baltimore Talking Live would like to present our guest in the hot seat, Jeff Rocker. Welcome, Jeff, to Baltimore Talking Live.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. Tell me about your story. How do you came to be where you are? What is your origin story?
Well, for me, growing up here in the great city of Miami, there was times where it wasn't so great for me, where I lived in neighborhoods where people were doing drugs, those sexual abuse, molestation, rape, drugs, of course, like I mentioned earlier. But what I realized is that nobody had a person to talk to. I always said everybody knew a street pharmacist, but nobody knew a therapist. So at that point, I realized, you know what? That's real talk. I realized at that point,
yes,
I had to get back to my community by helping them out, by having a relatable face or personality that they can talk to about these type of issues that they don't feel comfortable talking to other people with.
Mm-hmm.